on stage with me. Miss Paige O'Hara, the voice of Belle, and Richard White, the voice of Gaston. Bring it in. Hi, how are you doing? Awesome. All right. So before we throw it to the audience, I have a couple of quick questions myself. So to begin, I'm not sure if anybody, if everyone is aware that you both have a similar background before jumping into voice work, which was theater, and specifically actually Broadway.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, you know, we've known each other since the early 80s. You know, Richard and I did the revival of Showboat together. He was the star, I was the comic soubrette Ellie in it. And we did it at Houston Grand Opera, and then we took it to Egypt, the Cairo Opera House. And that was kind of an interesting experience.
That was a very interesting experience. We opened the new Cairo Opera House there. It was fabulous.
Well, the wife of the president was American, and she said, I want the American show, Showboat. And so we went there, and we had an interesting experience, but nobody could eat the food. And so it was the Houston Grand Opera, so they hired an entire Texas barbecue and flew it over to Egypt. It was great.
Well, I sincerely appreciate that, being a theater nerd myself. We'll get to that later. All right, so as we do have a pretty good sized line form, and we're gonna go ahead and throw it to the audience, so please just remember, do not do any requests for hugs or selfies at this moment, because that's gonna take up a lot of time, and we don't have that. So just a reminder, go ahead and visit them at their booths, because that's what they're there for. So let's go ahead and do just one question per person, and if we have time, we can go ahead and bring it back around to more. Yeah? Sounds good? All right, let's get started. What's your name?
My name is Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Hello. This question is for both of you. Did either one of you see the show Sing Me a Story with Belle? And if you did, what were your opinions about it?
I didn't either. Are you talking about in Walt Disney World, the show that she does the story of Belle? Or is this something different?
It's like half live action with Lindsay McLeod and a cast of kids.
Oh, I didn't see it. Now you're gonna. Now I have to go see it.
Okay.
Now I'm really curious.
It was on television.
Was it wonderful?
When was it on? When was it on?
Oh man, it was like 95.
Oh, then that was still me. That was me then. Yeah. I was still Belle's voice until the 50s. Until like, the 50s,
No.
In my 50s. And then I then brought my voice back with Wreck-It Ralph. But yeah, I will check it out. I don't remember it. Did you like it?
I liked it, yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound real convincing.
Well,
It was okay.
yeah. Well, there was a live action Belle. Her name was Lindsay McLeod, and she had a cast of kids where Kirsten Storm first started off her Disney career, and they were telling stories with old Disney animation, so they were trying to tell morals and important things in life for children to learn.
Wait, was Gaston in this?
There was one episode with Gaston in it, and
Well,
the actor's name was Wolf.
Now I'm really curious.
Well, it must have had some virtue, but I don't recall.
Well, you know what, if we were at the time when it came out doing a show 8 shows a week, it's probably something we wouldn't remember because we're so tired, you know. But I will definitely check it out. I appreciate you bringing it up though, that's cool. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you. Hi, what's your name?
My name is Emily, and I just had a question for both of you. I wondered if when you all made the film, if you realized back then the lasting impact that it would still have today?
Well, that's a good question. I knew it was going to be brilliant because of the people working on it and because of Little Mermaid right before it, but I don't think we really understood the longevity of it. Did you really?
Well, actually, I think I did, and I'll tell you why. For so many reasons. Little Mermaid was one reason. Little Mermaid sort of proved to us that Disney had found its way, and so we knew we were going to be part of that same thing because Alan and Howard were so thoroughly invested and involved. So we knew we had that going for us. We also knew how Disney was with their animated films. Disney has always treated them as holy grail and taken very, very good care of how they're produced. So we knew we were part of that. In that regard, I had a sense that we would be part of this classic tradition, we'd be part of a classic. We were also one of the first things ever to be done all digitally. The film, the soundtrack was put down digitally, the video it was done digitally initially, and so we knew that it was going to last forever. So the idea that it could last forever was a brand new idea, and I was thrilled that I was going to be part of a classic that would have that kind of longevity. So I sort of did feel that I did.
Well, and also you got to think about too, it was one of the last ones to be hand-drawn animation, and then the creation of the CG with the ballroom and stuff. So that was the first. And then of course being nominated for the Oscar, which is
sure
pretty.
didn't hurt.
First and last.
I'll tell you, Billy Crystal told me, we sang, I don't know if you all remember, a lot of you weren't even born, but we sang on the Oscars that night, and Billy Crystal told me after, he said, you're the beast you know. Even though he was the funniest thing you've ever seen, you got to Google him, because he comes out, that little family film, Silence of the Lambs, that one. he comes out as Hannibal Lecter and does this incredibly funny thing on the Oscars that night.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead and tilt that all the way down. There you go. Oh my goodness, look, a little bell. Hi, what's your name?
Mallory.
I know.
What's your question?
What was one of your favorite scenes in Beauty and the Beast?
Favorite scenes? I love the scene in the snow because this is the moment that Belle realizes she's in love with Beast. When she's feeding the birds and they're all afraid of the Beast, and then he kneels down, she puts the little food on his paw and the little birds jump on his hand. And he gets this big, ridiculous grin. And Belle, Alan and I talked about it, and Howard and I and the directors, that's the moment where her heart stops and she runs behind the tree. And I think that's my favorite moment, because that's the moment she actually realizes she's in love with him. And it took me years later, and now being an artist for Disney, to notice that the animators actually made her blush in that little nude, that whole song and something there. It's really amazing. Would you have a favorite scene? Do you have a favorite part?
I really like the part whenever Belle's going to the library.
Into the library, yes.
Oh, in the library. Oh, yes. It's hard to top that. That's very true.
I think that Belle's favorite scene is one of the most poignant, sad moments in the whole film. When she loses her way completely and forgets about Gaston.
He's insatiable. He's always been insatiable. That's why it's so easy to pick on him as Gaston. And I still pick on Richard, don't I?
See what I have to do with?
So would you all mind having the house lights come up so we can actually see?
Yeah, I'd love to see your faces a little bit.
Can you go ahead and bring those up for me?
They'll get to it if they
can they bring
can.
them up a little bit? That's okay.
Maybe. We'll get to it, maybe.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you so much. Okay, go ahead and tilt that all the way back up then. There we go.
There we go.
Belle and Gaston in the front row, right there.
Well, of course.
I was going to bring that up later, but I actually, really quickly, can we have all of the cosplayers who are doing Belle or Gaston right now? Can you go ahead and stand up so we can see you?
Gotta see these.
Right.
Awesome.
Look at this.
Look at these. Beautiful.
Goodness.
Gaston's beautiful too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
These are great, guys.
Pretty.
Well, I was going to say that
He's
Belle's
mean, but he's
beautiful, too.
pretty.
Awesome, thank you. All right, go ahead. What's your question?
My name's Ryan. I visited both their stations actually. Probably don't recognize me because I visited you guys yesterday. If anything, before I answer my question, I want to do a LeFou comment. Don't worry, Gaston. We'll get Belle next time.
Very good. What'd you think?
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
Although I do Gaston better. But my question actually revolves around Howard Ashman. Actually, when I actually saw the behind the scenes with Blu-ray, I noticed that he visited you, Paige, talking about during your first song, Belle, asking you advice of like, raising the voice of, why you feeling?
Yes.
And
Very
good. I'd actually wanted to ask you, did Howard actually visit you, Mr. Steve Boy? Did he actually give you that last advice, especially delivering Gaston's line? Like, do you ever like sex?
Oh, of course. You know, it's interesting, and Jody Benson and I have talked about this. Ariel and Belle are as much Howard Ashman as they are Jody and Paige. He just had the vision of these characters and what they should be. And a lot of Howard's heart was put into these characters. So we were open to any kind of advice he would give us. And he was also, I was very fortunate that he saw me do, at Carnegie Hall, he saw me do 2 Jerome Kern musicals. And he and I understood the technique of that and what that was about. And we shared a camaraderie of love for Jerome Kern and Oscar Hammerstein. So I was totally open. I was nervous at first when I worked with him because he's a very, what's the word when you walk? He's one of those people that walks in the room and your whole eye goes to that person and you're mesmerized by them.
I was gonna say hypnotized or focused, but mesmerized is better.
Oh yeah, well that Quiet Village, that was right when he was still healthy, and unfortunately, when we got to recording something there, he was in the hospital and they put him on a phone patch, so they were talking to me through my headpiece, and I was having trouble with that one line. I think, sure, many of you know the story, but I could not get this one line right in something there, and he just said, tell her to put Streisand in it. So like, new and a bit alarming, you know, it's like alarming, it's like, okay.
But you know, it's not just Belle and Ariel. Howard was just a wonderful, wonderful director and writer to work with, and a wonderful person to know. I think there's not a single person who was in this film that doesn't owe a lot of their performance to Howard. He was so generous, and as I say, he had conceived this whole thing, and each of the characters.
It was his vision. The movie was his vision.
Yeah, it really is his heart. That's the reason for the Nachspiel that they put at the end.
Yeah, they put it at the end when we were all crying. I was sitting next to Ellen and we both just stopped when we saw it at the end of the movie. Because Howard did have a vision and he did not give up on it. And the only battle that I know of artistically that he lost, and thank God he lost it, it was Alan fighting him on the opening number of Belle. And Howard said, it's too long, Disney's gonna, you know, freak out, and they're not gonna love this at all. And then Alan said, you're so wrong. You of all people who love Jerome Kern and all this, trust me on this. And of course, they fell in love with the Belle number, and they kept the whole thing.
Particularly unusual because, like you say, Alan never won an argument with Howard,
No.
except that one.
It's very true. And I think we can all agree that that is one of the most classic songs of the whole show, right?
I love it. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Last piece, I think I like Gaston more. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Hi, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Ashley.
Hi, Ashley.
As you can see, I obviously really loved Wreck-It Ralph's 2's princess scene.
Oh,
I thought
I
it
love it.
stole the entire movie. So I
Awesome.
want to know how you felt about working with all the other princess actresses, and if you'd ever want to do a full movie with all of them.
They're so hard to get along with, aren't they? Don't you find
Well,
it?
actually, they're talking about a princess movie because the fans have been writing and saying they want
Yes,
one.
I want one really
So
badly.
let's hope, you know, wouldn't that be great? Actually, well, you know, of the older princesses like, you know, Linda Larkin, Jodie, myself, Irene Bedard, you know, we all kind of were friends already, you know. But I didn't know like Mandy Moore and Kristen Bell and those people. And so we never did, we didn't record together, but we partied together. We had 2 wonderful parties, one at the wrap party and one at the opening, and we just had such a good time. And I was just so, I was like, you know, starstruck, you know, by Mandy Moore and some of these people, and Kristen. I just, it was funny.
I'm sure they weren't at all.
It amazes me that they are. It just cracks me up.
Well.
Jodie and I were both like, really? Oh, we grew up with you. Okay, remind us how old we are. It's fun. No, it was amazing. It was amazing, and I hope we get to work together again with them. I'm hoping.
Thank you so much.
Oh, and I have to say, Anika Noni. Oh my God. I love this woman. I just got to work with her again, and I'm an artist at Disney, and I just finished being approved for painting Tiana now. So I'm very excited.
Oh, thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Julie, and I wanted to ask both of you which characteristic of your respective characters do you identify with the most?
Now, why is that funny? Well, I will tell you about Gaston. Gaston loves life, and he loves people. He really does. And
He loves himself.
He loves himself even more than either of those other things. But it's all part of the same thing. And so he's a lustful, he lusts for life, and I think that is just a wonderful characteristic, and one that I tried very hard to stress with Gaston. So that would be my answer to that. You can take that a little bit far, I'm told.
Actually,
But I don't know.
But I know there's another quality to him that's Richard. It's your sense of humor. I mean, truthfully, I'm not going to pick on him on this, because I think Gaston is the funniest villain ever done for Disney. I think Gaston has the humor. And Richard, I mean, I've known him since 1980. He's a funny man. He's a very
I don't know what she means about funny.
When I first met him, he was like the guy in New York, the baritone. He was the star on Broadway, a couple years older than me. But I'm telling you, he was intimidating. You go to an audition, you see these other younger baritones, and you were there, and they all, you don't even know this. My husband was one of them. That was, oh, Richard White's here for the audition, I'll just go home now. So that's, all right, that's all your only compliment you're getting tonight.
That's what I thought about Gaston. What about Belle?
Belle, you know what? It's the only part in my whole career where I wasn't hiding behind another character. They totally stripped my whole emotional feeling and opened up my heart, and they said, you have to be Paige. And when I steer away from that, Paige, you're steering away from Paige. In the booth, and it was hard, because you feel so vulnerable, when you are being yourself. And that was what Belle is, really. I mean, I'm very much like her in that I'm very loyal. I love the scene with her father and all of that. I think, but I'm also very strong-minded and strong-willed. And I have to remind people, let's remember the time period of this piece. Belle was 20 years old. People got married at 14, 15. She was already an old maid in this movie, and she could care less. She'd rather enjoy her life and her books. And the bookworm part, being odd. I felt odd being in the theater when I was a little girl. I thought I was really weird, So I think there's a lot of characteristics of Belle that are me.
Thank you.
I would have said it's because you're both exceptionally attractive, but maybe that's just me.
Love her. Did you pay her to say that?
Didn't you?
Only a few dollars, though. Hi, honey, what's your name?
My name is Abby.
Hi, Abby.
Hi, Abby. I have a question for you.
Okay.
This is for both of you.
Okay.
When you were little, did you always want to be in a movie?
Aww. You know what? I knew from the time I was about 5 years old that I wanted to be an actress. And I wanted to be on Broadway. I didn't really think that much about the movies. I loved watching the movies. And then I started acting class, and around 12 years old, I started singing along with Judy Garland, and I realized I could sing. So then I desired to be in Broadway musicals. And the movies kind of came later. However, I did do a movie when I was 14 as an extra in the movie Lenny, starring Dustin Hoffman. Yes, it was in Fort Lauderdale, and they wanted local actors that were around 13, 14 years old, and it was an R-rated movie, and my mom was like, really? You really want me to let you do that? Because it was pretty raunchy. But I learned a lot by watching Bob Fosse for 3 days. Directing. So that was amazing. That was amazing. My mom was a little upset that it was a little raunchy the scene I was in, but I didn't do anything except laugh and go, ooh, and cover my eyes at Dustin Hoffman. But yeah, the movies were kind of became interesting when I saw that, but the goal was still New York. I went there at 17.
When I was
Did you
little-
want to be a movie star, Richard?
When I was little, we sang. My parents met singing for KDKA radio back in the Never Never Land. And we just sang. I thought that's what everybody did. You get in the car, you sing. You come home, you sing. I just thought that people sang all the time. And that's what I did. And so singing was just very natural to me, and I always wanted to sing and studied singing. So I came in through the whole thing from that side. Acting then was something that I got into, I guess, as young as junior high school or something like that. I started doing some shows, and then I started to get that bug. And then acting and singing started to work together. And if you act and sing, there's a whole lot of different things that you can do, and I tried to do a lot of those. And then along came this. And this was a surprise to me. It never occurred to me that this was something that I would be good at. But it seemed a natural fit. So I didn't dream about being in the movies until all of a sudden I was in one. And then I thought about it a lot.
We did. We really enjoyed every moment of it. And you know what? Our agent had the day of her life because it's
We had the same agent.
Got Belle and Gaston that day. She was like really happy. She said, "Oh my gosh, I can pay my rent now." Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear.
Hi, what's your name?
My name's Megan. I wanted to say thanks for being such a big part of my childhood. We
Thank
wore
you.
the big Beauty and the Beast VHS out at my house.
I understand.
My question is, being that a lot of the animated films are considered classics now, how do you all feel about the live action remakes?
You know, I have mixed feelings. On the positive side of the live action, it brings in a different audience that would have normally not want to see the animation movies. It's oddly enough that since Beauty and the Beast live action came out, the sales went up for our movie. So a lot of people went back to discover our movie. So I hope that they would do that and then not the opposite. I don't know, do you like the live action? Do you think it's a good idea? You don't?
I'm an old school Disney.
Yeah.
I like the animation
That's
better.
Jody and I were at the D23 and they kept saying, yeah, you guys are the OG, and I was like, oh, old girls? Jody's like, Paige, really? No. But I don't know. I like them both for different reasons. I mean,
I like it actually. I think it's charming. I think it was really well cast. I thought that the performances on the whole were wonderful. Here's the problem that I think arises. In our film, it's very easy to give over to the magic. To see Lumiere come alive just seems like as natural as it can be because of the medium. When you do a live action film, things aren't magical until you make them magical, and that's where it becomes difficult. You have to take that extra leap, and so it's a little bit less accessible maybe, so a lot of people find that disappointing. I hate to criticize it on that regard, but I have to admit, I think that the magic in our film comes very naturally, and it's a little more work in the other.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Everybody, but if we make these real fast, I think maybe we can. So let's get to
We'll
it.
talk fast too.
Hi, I'm Miana.
Hi.
I have always loved Beauty and the Beast. I was
Good too.
actually in my elementary school production, and I was Belle.
Congratulations.
Awesome. So, my question for you all is, what is your favorite behind-the-scenes part of it? Like, your favorite little story or something?
there's so many, but
Yeah.
let's pick one.
Well, I tell you what, Paige often talks about this. We've created a backstage story in that she, beginning with Robbie Benson, but also with me, we wanted to work together. We come from a theatrical background where you do scenes together, and as you may know, in animated films and so forth, that's not the tradition. Traditionally, they bring in one person at a time, and they work
You're in a
on
booth
mic,
by
and
yourself.
they work on that. Whereas, from a theatrical point of view, we're used to reacting to one another, and that's what we wanted to do. So Paige was able to throw her mighty clout around and force the issue. But it wasn't, I'm joking, but...
No, it's true, and other people have thanked me for it, and
Yeah.
of course it's a lot more expensive to do it that way, but I was the naughty one who said, please let us record together, it'll pay off. And initially they were not really happy about the idea, but about 3 months into it, they said this is brilliant because, because we would feed off each other. You know,
it seemed obvious to us,
Yeah.
but not. As they say, it's not what the culture was. So
Yeah.
that happened behind the scenes, and it's thanks to this one right here primarily. But we all got the opportunity to benefit from
Well,
that.
you know, it made the relationships much more. We got to ad-lib with each other. We got to play with the material. Linda Wolverton allowed us to ad-lib, and some of them she kept in. Like David.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
half of David's script is stuff he made up. You know, promises, flowers, promises you don't intend to keep. What was it? Chocolate, whatever. I mean, David made up everything. Oh God. But that was one of the coolest stories that they actually let us do that. And Robbie and I, we just clicked too right away as soon as he was hired. And he was going to use his clout to do the same thing. So.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Hi, I'm
Hi.
Brittany. My question for you is, what was it like actually working with the animators, and like what did they pick up from your voice acting, like movements or facial expressions that they put into the animation?
Actually, they videotaped us all day long when we record. There was a camera going the entire time, so they would see, you know, featured mannerisms.
They get all of the, some people think that the characters look like us in ways that they probably don't, because they embody our expressions and our facial tics and things like that, because they got those from that film. Working with the animators though, my gosh, they draw to us.
They do.
We lay down the vocal tracks and then they draw. And they don't necessarily see the actor, although, except on that film, you know, and working it that way. So for 2.5 years, these artists had been drawing to my voice and just listening to the voice and drawing, and listening to the voice and drawing. And I finally was brought back into the trailer where they were all working, and it was like one of those offices where they're all cubicles, where the walls are this high. You know, it's sort of like a warren of people working, and they're all drawing in their little cubicles. And I walked in with Don Hahn, who was the producer, and he and I were talking. So these artists who are bent over their tables drawing hear my voice saying lines that they haven't drawn yet. And all of a sudden one pops up, and then another one pops up, and another. It's like all those little moles and little prairie dogs jumping up. So that's what it was like to work with the animators for me. They do amazing
They're amazing.
things
They really are.
in capturing your expression and what you bring to it. And then they get to bring their own creativity.
Because really,
as well.
they're also Gaston. The animators are also Belle. I mean, James Baxter and Mark Henn, there again, are as much of Belle as I am.
It's collaborative in a way that's very, very fulfilling. You know, it goes back and forth. It's wonderful.
But yes, they do take expressions. People like my sisters, when they saw it in the opening number, oh my God, they started laughing. I was like, it's not supposed to be funny there. You know, the hair was in the eye. That was Paige all the time. You know, I had stringy hair. You know, of course, when we do the special, my mom says, you better curl your hair. So the stuff you see on TV, but I'm with the footage, that's Paige with coif blonde hair to her mother. But when I was actually recording, it was kind of just long, stringy hair, and it showed up in the movie.
Well, thank you, and I want to say Beauty and the Beast is my favorite Disney movie, like princess movie.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And I think a lot of people in this room can agree.
Hi, my name is Kyle.
Hi, Kyle.
I too was also in my high school's production of Beauty and the Beast, clarinet and theater orchestra though. What got me interested in theater, and then the year after that I got into acting and did that for the rest of high school and college. So really cool. This is kind of what introduced me to theater. But my question is for you, Richard. Out of all the song in Gaston's song that describes all of his very special traits, what is your favorite, like, kind of accolade that they've tacked on to him?
I gotta admit, I have this image, and the very first time I ever heard that song, no one is tromping around wearing boots like Gaston. I mean, come on, now that's an image, and for some reason that stuck with me. I don't know why.
And every lesson should be covered with hair.
Well, everybody knows that. What, the boots?
Yes, you really have to wonder where he had them made, yeah.
And I think there's a little secret there, kind of a little by Howard Ashman that gave you this super intellect on Shakespeare. Screw your courage to the sticky place on the Kill the Beast. Yeah, that's funny. That was definitely a Howard little giggle.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great, thanks. We've got time for just a couple more.
Here we go.
Hello, my name is Brittany. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little starstruck. But Beauty and the Beast has always been so monumental in my life, and seeing you guys here is like almost cheesy as it is, a little bit of a dream come true. But I wanted to know, as someone who is completely inspired by the character of Belle and relates to them, how does that come into play in your personal life, knowing that you embody someone that people truly consider a role model?
I pinch myself every day that people still love this movie and love Belle, 28 years later. I guess the anniversary was yesterday. Someone told
Yes,
me.
it was.
Yeah, that we opened.
Well, let me just tell you, as an observer and somebody who's known Paige for a very long time, I remember working on this with her, and I remember observing her while she was working on this. And as always, she's very focused on being the very best character that she can and doing the very best job that she can. And she was so pleased and so excited at the wonderful reception. It was a marvelous success for her. But then she started hearing from girls. Young girls, older girls, mothers, women, saying, nobody has ever shown me that a woman can read, can stand up for herself to someone like moi. but that's funny, but it's serious. I mean, it really was a very big thing, and seeing that in Paige and seeing how she reacted to that was quite wonderful, I must assure you.
Thank you, Richard. It means a lot to me that they finally had a princess that brought women to the point where they should have been many years prior. Absolutely. And it was now a renaissance of the new revolution of women. They paved the way for all these incredible new characters, like one of my favorites, Mulan. Yeah. She's the reason I took up kickboxing and martial arts. I love her. But yeah, it's amazing. I'm constantly humbled by it, and my heart is filled by hearing the stories, and sometimes I get emotional when I hear them with you, and I just want to share them with you. That's why we do these Comic-Cons. So I really enjoy it.
Thank you. Also, real quick before I walk away, Richard, your vocals are impeccable.
I know.
Modest too. His voice never changes. It's crazy. It's crazy. Hey, what's your name?
My name's Kaden.
Hi.
Hi there.
How did you find the voices for the characters?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that. How did you find the voices for the character? Well, when they asked me to be Gaston, I thought, well, who's the best? Why? C'est moi? No,
You can tell he did Camelot for a really long time playing Lancelot. C'est moi. Oh yeah.
It's true. No, you just, as you get to know the person, you find yourself starting to speak like them and starting to sound like them, and as you sing the songs, you learn more and more what that person is like. Like I say, Gaston is so full of himself that of course he just, rings out a bit. So that's how I found Gaston.
And it's weird because in New York at that time I was known as the Broadway belter. I did roles like Evita and all those high belt Druid. But I also had that other side to me, like I was telling you about the Jerome Kern musicals, which is more of a sweet middle soprano voice. And Howard fell in love with it. He said, I think you have the little warmth of the Judy voice, but you also have that ingenue voice. I want this light, sweet voice. And I just did what he told me to do. It was a natural with Alan's music. The placement, the keys they picked for me made it just a piece of cake. It was so natural. So, lovely, thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I think we can get these in. Let's go.
Hi, I'm Shane, and I have a question for Richard White.
Yes.
I mentioned at your table it would have been cool. It'd be cool if you and other of the Disney villain actors went to D23 Expo to accept your Disney Legend Awards, and I was wondering if you got your Disney Legend Award, how would your speech go?
That is a brilliant question. I love you, Shane. That is awesome.
No, I think that's a wonderful idea. Obviously, I would think so. But I think it is a great idea. I think that a lot of the Disney villains have been thrilling.
Yes.
And
they've been passed over, and it's not fair. Okay, rights for the villains.
I can't say they've been passed over, but it would be lovely if something like that happened. I'd be thrilled. And what would my acceptance speech be? Oh my Lord, I would. That something like that could happen would be, just so astonishing. I don't know that I would have any words at all. I would be so grateful and so overcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Paige, congratulations on your award.
Thank you so much.
Wait a minute, you got one?
Yeah.
Oh.
What I said, let's give you a little bit of my speech if you don't know it, is the only thing I hate about Belle is that she never gets any older. Jody and I share that, we laugh about it. We haven't given in to the plastic surgery yet. I don't think I'll ever give in to the plastic surgery.
Hello, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Meredith.
Hi, Meredith.
I'm just wondering, have you guys had the opportunity to go to Be Our Guest Restaurant or Gaston's Tavern in Disney World, and what was that like to be there, like in real life and experience that?
Oh my God, Michael, my husband and I were there for the opening, and I was astonished because at that point I started being an artist with Disney Fine Art, and I was working on a ballroom painting at the time, and I walked in, and it was exactly as the ballroom was in the film. I mean, it was genius how they did it. I got goosebumps and I got really emotional. That was my reaction. Have you seen it yet?
I have not yet been there. I'm trying to remember where I put my invitation.
We have to fix that, Richard. We're going to fix that.
This always happens. Even the very opening. I missed the opening of the film too because I was working. So
just being a star on Broadway.
Yeah, that's it.
Rough life.
That's it. But my wife and I have decided that we're going to make a point of that. We're going to go down and we're going to go see all of those things.
His wife, by the way, was a former Miss America.
She still is a former.
And she's still a former Miss America. And she is one of the greatest singers, comedians ever. So you have to Google her, Susan Powell.
Thanks. I'll tell her you said that.
Google Susan Powell.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, this will be our last question. Let's hear it.
My name is Lance.
Hi, Lance.
And I was wondering, between the both of you, were you in any other movies together?
We've not done a movie together, but we did lots of shows together. Some of them not since, but before we did Beauty and the Beast, we had done some shows together.
Concerts,
Yeah, lots of concerts and shows like that.
Yeah.
So we knew each other for a while and had the great pleasure of working together. We did the Hollywood Bowl together.
That was actually a really special night.
Yeah.
Julie Andrews became ill, and I was asked to go on for her as Anna and the King and I. And Richard was the king. And this is the Hollywood Bowl in front of 20,000 people. I learned Anna, Julie's role in like 5 days. We had Peebo Bryson and Lea Salonga. I mean, the cast was unbelievable. And I was so nervous because I had just learned it and I was having a stage fright attack.
No.
Oh yeah, you remember in my dressing room, you're like, come on Paige, you gotta get on stage now. It's like, I was so sick, I was like throwing up, I was a mess, I was so nervous. And then we came out on stage and it turned out to be one of the most glorious moments of my life. It was incredible, it was incredible.
So we have
was
that
special.
together, but no movies.
Thank you. All right, I have one final question for you. So we know that you are also working at Disney Fine Arts. Can you tell us about any ongoing projects that you're working on currently?
Well, I'm starting another voiceover project. Actually, it's a voice project that I'm starting next week. And I can't tell you very much about it because I don't know very much about it. It's a serial of 12-minute pieces that are being sold as something, a story that you can, it's interactive in some way, and you do it while you're sitting in the car. driving along. I don't know any more than that, but I'm looking forward to the project.
There are a lot of football and sports stars doing that.
Oh, yeah.
They're loving it
Oh, yeah.
because they can connect with their fans.
Yeah, I'm going to do that, but then I'm going to go down to North Carolina and do a production of La Cage aux Folles.
Can you tell us who you're playing in that?
I'm playing Georges.
I'm a huge nerd.
How cool is that?
Thank you.
I'm pretty much full-time artist with Disney now, but in February I'm going with Alan Menken to Tokyo, and they're doing a big concert version with the film screening, and we're going to talk to the audience, and Alan and I are going to pop on stage and sing the finale with the group, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
We're all trying to get her singing again. I think
He's
we're going
trying to.
It's going to happen.